All right, how's it going, everybody? This is the Awesemo.com esports game plan. I thought I would share some things I've learned since I started playing a little bit of League of Legends DFS during this sports hiatus. Um, and I figured I would just come on here and uh, talk about how maybe League of Legends does relate to some other DFS sports. Um, I'm Jake Hari. I go by Tommy Nation One on DraftKings and FanDuel, and I mainly play uh, MLB, NHL, and I play some NFL. A lot of showdown in NFL, and there are definitely some strategies that I think you could use in those to be successful. So just gonna go over kind of field tendencies in this stream, and then be sure to comment and like, subscribe, do all that stuff. But especially want to hear what you guys want me to do these videos about. These will be short and hopefully helpful to some people, beginners like myself. I'm certainly no expert in any esport. I've just been kind of studying the best players, and that's what we're going to do using lineup study. We've got tools and projections, ownership projections, top stacks. Those are all things I've used to build esports lineups, specifically League of Legends. So we're going to start with kind of what's the best lineup construction. I think if you just go into Fantasy Cruncher, your optimizer of choice, and you just click optimize, you're going to get eaten alive in these tournaments. Stacking is absolutely massive in these esports contests, specifically in League of Legends. And so to illustrate that, I do have lineup study open. You can get lineup study with your FC add-on as an additional add-on with your Awesemo Plus package if you would like. It's a great tool. You can pretty much do whatever you want on it. So let's just go to one of the bigger tournaments, just sorting by the last week, and let's just click on this 100K to first. I like looking at these. I've been playing a lot of these tournaments, and it can be discouraging because stacking is such a huge part of League of Legends DFS. There's limited roster spots. There is the captain spot on DraftKings, but you basically have to hit the nuts in order to even get a split. And sometimes we'll see, one or two people take it down, like we did in this tournament. And so what I like to do first, since we're talking about kind of field tendencies here, is just look at what the field is doing in terms of stacking. So I clicked on all lineups. I will open up the team stacks, and you can kind of see what the field is doing here. So right away, if I'm just starting playing League of Legends DFS, I would look at this and say, okay, well, if 14,000 entries are 4-3 or 4-2 out of under 21,000 entries, so that's over 2/3 of the entries of the lineups in this contest are 4-3s and 4-2. So right away, 4-3 and 4-2 look viable. And this is basically what I did when I first started playing. I went on lineup study for a couple of slates. I did a little bit of my own work in Excel, actually. I think lineup study wasn't quite loaded when I first started playing this about a month ago when we stopped having sports. And I was like, all right, sweet. It's similar to MLB and NHL. 4-3 is a pretty popular stack in NHL. 4-3 is a pretty popular stack in MLB. 5-3, 5-2 MLB, but it's similar. So I think kind of stacking is everything. And a month ago, this was, if you just put in all 4-3s, I saw a lot of the pros putting in all 4-3s and just crushing for the first couple weeks until people caught on. And now it looks like 4-3 and 4-2 are still the majority. But this is kind of an ever-changing sport as people try to avoid dupes. But even 3-3, 3-2-2 on kind of these mid-sized to bigger slates, 4 games is kind of a mid-sized slate for what we've seen so far. So I think any of these right here. 4-2, 4-3, 3-3, 3-2-2, even 3-2 on some 2 and 3 game slates, I think are all pretty good options. But stacking is incredibly important. And now, if you're playing one of these top-heavy tournaments, like the one we were just in, let me click back onto this. You can see with only 7 roster spots on DraftKings and 4-3 being eligible, you're going to see a lot of dupes. So there were a number of lineups. This lineup specifically was a 4-3, and there were 265 dupes. And that would be a lineup that I myself am probably going to try to avoid. I don't necessarily want to split with 265 or 231 people like we're seeing here. And there's just endless amounts of lineups because there are just limited possibilities. There are endless amount of lineups that I probably wouldn't want to play. If one of these does go off in this big tournament and people split it, split the 100K top prize or the 50K top prize, whatever it is, on that night, I'm just kind of okay losing on that night. I've seen some players, namely Awesemo himself, running some trains with more popular lineups on shorter slates. On a 4-gamer, I wouldn't necessarily want to run trains, but it just depends on what you're trying to do here. There's a ton of different ways to play. I'm trying to avoid as many dupes as possible. I think that's probably the best long-term play. I mean, you're going to get some lineups that are duped. I mean, even this 20,588 entry tournament, 2 players split it. I'd be more than comfortable splitting with one other person or even like 5 other people in a top-heavy tournament like this. But I think in general, you do want to try to avoid the mega duped lineups, the 100, 150, 200, 300 lineup trains. It's going to happen at some point, but I would just prefer to avoid those. If you're in a smaller field tournament, like, not 100K to first, if you're in a single entry, I think 4-3, 4-2 is pretty much always going to be a sound strategy, no matter what the slate calls for, whether it's a 2-game slate. I think 4-3 and 4-2, at least one 4-man stack is how I start the majority of my lineups. Again, I'm not the expert. Maybe some people will tell you that 3-3 or 3-2 is a better play. In fact, I think that lineup that we just saw was a 3-3, but I like starting most of my lineups with a 4-man stack and kind of going from there. And I would suggest you need a 4-3 or a 4-2 or maybe a 3-3 in the smaller single entry tournaments. But if you are playing like the mini max or something like that, I think as much correlation as possible. There's going to be some weaker players, some newer players, and so all those lineup constructions look pretty good to me. I just like looking at what the field is doing, what the top players are doing, and kind of going from there. And you can click on any of these tournaments right here and click on all lineups here in lineup study. Go to the team stack type. This was on the 15th of April. You can see kind of the same thing. 4-3, 4-2. Those are king. Those are also going to get you the more duped lineups. So it's kind of a tricky situation we're in here with League of Legends DFS. Wanted to quickly touch on cash games as well. I don't play a lot of cash games myself, but I have noticed in some of these that... Here, let's go to like the higher stakes cash games here. Maybe like a 4-man. So just click on any random one. What you're going to see in a lot of these is people running stacks as well. So it's hard to say whether they're trying to actually stack on purpose or if it's just, 4 players from one team project really well, 3 players from another team project really well, but I think stacking is perfectly fine. In cash, probably wouldn't want to play too many underdog stacks. In cash, maybe a one-off if you're running a 4-2-1 or something like that. But a little bit different than what you would see in like an NHL or MLB, where people, for the most part, avoid stacking in League of Legends because the players are so highly correlated on each team. I think you're still going to be looking at that 4-2, 4-3, 3-3 lineup construction. So I wouldn't get too far away from those types of stacks, because a lot of these pros, even as they try to avoid dupes, they're still doing that same kind of thing. So whatever they're doing, I'm going to try to implement myself. I'm going to still try to avoid dupes. And the way I do that is by using the ownership projections from Awesemo himself. Number 1 DFS player in the world, number 1 esports player in the world. I believe he's still got that title over Brick. It's been him and Brick 1-2. But anyways, Alex has his ownership projections up on the site, so go check those out. If you want to join, Esports Weekly is that's a great option. You get the rankings, you get ownership rankings, so you can still kind of see who's going to be chalky with the regular esports. I'm sorry, that was the Esports Express Weekly. With the regular Esports Weekly, you'll get everything. We will be having some flash sales coming up at some point as well, but this is going to be a really good deal for everything you're going to get. $30, and you can even add on Fantasy Cruncher if you get the Esports Monthly. I would suggest getting Fantasy Cruncher, especially if you're going to be playing some of these large field MME tournaments. I think it's a pretty great investment. If you do want to check out the Study a Pro article that I did on both Brick and Awesemo, 2 of the most highly respected players in all of DFS that jumped in early on the esports game, you can do that by going to the esports tab here, or just search Study a Pro on Google. You'll be able to find that out. Awesemo also has the How to Play and Win at League of Legends DFS article, written by Jeremy Schritt. Really good article, and you can learn a lot if you're just beginning. So these videos are going to be more for beginners. We can talk about hand building, whatever you guys want to talk about. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then please comment. Let me know what you want me to cover in some future videos. Hopefully this will help you, and hopefully it'll help me as well. So good luck, guys, and let me know what you want me to talk about. Thanks.